Do you try to do multiple things at once and find that none of them end up getting done at all? 3 years ago, I started a second degree in computer science, and soon after, I launched this YouTube channel, all while working nearly full-time as a data science consultant. Managing all these commitments have been a roller coaster, but it's taught me some game-changing lessons about time and energy management. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 7 principles that have helped me do everything, everywhere, all at once, kind of, without losing my mind. Off to the first tip. Drink more coffee. There are some mindset shifts I've gone through in the past years that have changed how I operate. The first one is to embrace the chaos. In the past, I always tried to control everything. I would write daily goals and block every half an hour in my calendar, just like what any productivity gurus would suggest. I thought this was the best way to be productive. And this time blocking practice worked for me like 2 days. And then something didn't go as planned. My code didn't want to work when I really need to submit my assignment, or when my project at work ended up taking longer hours than I expected, or when I sat down to edit a video only to realize that my 2-hour footage didn't have any audio because I forgot to plug in my microphone. And when these things happen, I would really feel upset, resentful, and really feel helpless. Obviously, this control freak mindset only made me feel worse. I've learned that trying to manage every day perfectly is the worst way to help me be productive. So I stopped blocking every half an hour. In fact, my personal calendar is mostly empty on most days. I have another system to manage my tasks, which I'll talk about later in this video. When you start embracing the chaos, something really interesting happens. Many of my best YouTube video ideas actually came when I was in the middle of something else. Maybe I was in some busy projects at work, or I was studying for exams. When ideas come to my mind, I would just stop working for 5 minutes, write down the idea, make some drawing and daydreaming about it. It might feel a little bit unorganized and chaotic because apparently I was distracted, and everyone would tell you this is not good. But this is also how our brains work. It makes connections and it wants to be creative. So I've come past the point where I feel ashamed for being distracted. As long as I got distracted by the things that matter to me. To some extent, life is chaotic by default, and it doesn't need to be a bad thing and we need to fight it. It's better to just dance with it. For example, I try to take advantage of the overlap in things that I'm doing, using topics from my study to inspire my YouTube content, or use my YouTube content to inspire other projects at my work. This organized chaos way of working empowers me and makes me feel less stressed. The second insight I've learned is the difference between fake work or busy work and real work. It's very easy to mistake these two if you're not careful about it. I've fallen so many times for the fake work trap. I might be spending hours looking for the best course to learn about machine learning or making the perfect study plan, but well, there's no best course if you just don't start with anything, and there's no perfect plan if you just don't take actions. I also used to spend a lot of time keeping the inbox zero, only to find out that I actually don't need it. In fact, responding faster to emails only leads to more emails in my inbox. Doing this busy work really only leads to more busy work. When it comes to any project work or study, I always try to find out what's the most impactful and most essential thing that I should focus on. This is exactly what the Pareto principle, or the 80-20% rule, is about. Roughly 80% of consequences often come from 20% of causes, or the vital few. Let's say you have 10 work items to do. We want to identify the 1 or 2 tasks that are essential for success, and these items should be your priorities, where you spend most of your time on. The other 8 items, I'll try to relentlessly simplify or remove them altogether, or I can also delegate them if I can. When creating a YouTube video, there are a lot of things I need to do, but I know researching the content and scripting the video is the foremost priority for me. One of the tools that have changed how I do research is u.com, which is an AI assistant that helps you get things done. U.com is an alternative to traditional internet searches with no blue links or advertisements, so you can get to what you are looking for much faster. You can choose from different AI modes such as Research Mode, Genius Mode, and Create Mode. To get unlimited access to other different AI modes, you can use UPro subscription. These AI modes make it so you don't need to be an expert in prompt engineering to get good results. If this sounds interesting, check out you.com in the description below. So when it comes to doing the real work, you may have heard people talk a lot about blocking your calendar for deep work sessions. I think this advice is good, but it seems to gloss over a very important point, that is to understand your body and plan things around your energy, not the other way around. Every body is different. There's no point blocking a whole afternoon for deep work if you always feel tired and drained after lunchtime. As I get to know myself better, I figured out that my body has a certain rhythm, and I found out that the most efficient structure for my work days usually looks like this. In the mornings, it will be shallow work. The afternoons, deep work, labor-intensive but low creativity, and my evenings would also be dedicated to deep work, but it's light labor and high creativity. In the mornings, after having breakfast and sipping the first cup of coffee, I often feel most energetic, but my brain is not awake enough to do the most intensive and creative work. So in the mornings, I prefer to batch all the easy and sociable tasks together, like planning my day, emailing, attending meetings, making calls, and sorting out admin items. So this part of my day is totally shallow work. My afternoons usually have slightly lower energy level, especially after having a big lunch, but my mind is actually more calm and centered because it has a little bit more context of the day. So in the afternoons, I often do the more complex and labor-demanding work, like working on the core parts of my project, coding, writing documentation, filming videos like what I'm doing now. These tasks require a lot of energy, but I don't need to be super creative to get them done. And at the end of the day, after workout and dinner, my evenings are often spared for the most creative work. I often read books in the evenings, write and script for the new videos, and take lessons for my study. I don't really know why, but I guess the quietness of the evenings just makes me feel more creative, more free, and help me come up with more interesting ideas. So all of the tasks I do in the evenings are light in terms of labor intensity, but they help me scratch my creativity itch and refill my energy level in some ways. And obviously, my days don't always go like this. Sometimes I need to film videos at 11 p.m. and I look totally like a zombie. And sometimes I have long meetings that stretch to 5 to 6 p.m. in the afternoon, which gives me no chance to focus on doing the work that I want to do. One thing I experience is that deep work is not always pleasant. You won't feel like being Einstein the whole time. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm doing. In my deep work sessions, I just focus on figuring things out step by step. I'd go through a lot of things from frustration, confusion, excitement. I lose focus multiple times. My energy is drained, but this is okay. Sometimes among these waves of emotions, I feel moments of absolute calmness and clarity. I feel completely focused and centered and empowered. Ideas pour in my mind and I understand everything deeper than ever before. People call it the flow. It's hard to force it or to predict when these moments of flow would come, but when they come, I try to make the best of them. When it comes to goal setting and to-do list, my system is usually quite simple. To me, there are two types of goals. There are long-term goals, say 3 to 5 years to the future, and short-term goals, like your daily, weekly, and monthly goals. A quote I find so true is, people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. We like to see big success overnight. But just like with learning a new skill, building a new relationship, or investing your money, success needs time to compound. And the compounding effect is what we often struggle to understand. And that's why we often underestimate what we can achieve in the long term and overestimate what we can achieve in short term. That's why when it comes to setting long-term goals, I try to set big, ambitious goals. Goals that I can tell without laughing out loud. About 5 years ago in 2019, before this YouTube channel even existed, I wrote this in my journal. I'm almost 27, still don't know what I really want to do. I've always wanted to do something of high impact, a job that allows me to bring positive changes to a lot of people. I had no idea back then. Today, I can say I've achieved this in some way with this YouTube channel in a way that's totally unimaginable to me 5 years ago. And I've seen this again and again in my life and my career in general. So don't be afraid to be bold in your long-term vision, because you never know how far you can come in 3 to 5 years. But when it comes to setting short-term goals, I try to be as realistic as possible. So what I usually do is to start with a list of monthly goals, writing down in very broad strokes what I realistically want to achieve in that month regarding work, study, YouTube, health, relationship, you name it, then I'll translate them into weekly goals for the next couple of weeks, taking into account all things like traveling or weekend plans. My monkey mind usually doesn't think past 3 to 4 weeks ahead, so this works for me. And after that, this list of weekly goals help me better plan what I need to accomplish on a daily basis. For all the miscellaneous things that are not super important nor urgent to do on any particular day, I'll collect them in the reminders app on my iPhone and set a timer for those that actually have a deadline. These tasks are often small and I can quickly do them on my phone whenever I have a break. I'm always tempted to put so many tasks on my daily to-do list that it would take me actually 1 to 2 weeks to finish everything. This constantly made me feel like an absolute loser. So nowadays, I limit my to-do list, my daily to-do list, to maximum 5 items. And I also identify the one task that is the highlight of the day. This is the task that I absolutely want to accomplish, so that at the end of the day, even if I don't accomplish any other tasks, I can still call it a success. This whole practice of breaking down big goals into small and manageable goals is called goal chaining. I have to admit that I struggle a lot with procrastination, and I guess everyone does. But for me, it's kind of chronic. I tend to push things to last minute and then get panic and stressed, and then I regret not starting earlier and instead wasting my time sitting around watching random YouTube videos. In my journey to fighting procrastination, I came across an interesting book named The Procrastination Equation. It basically explains the reason why we procrastinate or lack the motivation to do something. That basically comes down to the 4 basic components. Motivation is roughly equal to expectancy times value divided by impulsiveness and delay. Expectancy here means the more certain we are about succeeding at doing the task, the more motivated we are. And value means the more we enjoy doing the task and enjoy the final reward, the more motivated we are to do it. Makes sense, right? And impulsiveness means the more easily we get distracted, the less motivated we are. And finally, delay. The further the deadline is, the less motivated we will be. So to be more motivated and procrastinate less, we need to either increase the expectancy and increase the value, or decrease the impulsiveness and decrease the delay. Using this framework, whenever I find myself procrastinating on something, I ask myself why. And my reasons are often the work is too boring, so it has low value. The work is too difficult, so it has low expectancy or low value. The deadline is months away, so high delay. And I'm afraid of failing to do good work, so low expectancy. Or on a Friday evening, I'll say I'd rather hang out with my friends, so high impulsiveness. So once I understand the specific excuses and what exactly I'm avoiding, I can easily find ways to fight procrastination. So for example, if the work is too boring, I put on some nice music while doing it. And if the deadline is months away, I'll create some intermediate milestones with a closer timeline. And if I'm afraid of failure, I'll just focus on gathering enough input and material to help me feel more prepared. But sometimes I procrastinate just because my mind is tired. So I'll just accept it and give myself some time to wander around and to relax. And guess what? Sometimes the best ideas actually come when I'm procrastinating. So this framework helps you better understand yourself, but really the best way to fight procrastination is simply to acknowledge that you're procrastinating and focus on getting started. A lot of times for me, actions actually create motivation and not the other way around. If you want more actionable ideas for how to stay motivated in your study or in your project, check out this amazing poster I'll link down below. Alright, the next lesson that I took to heart is to say no. I remember reading this somewhere. If you can't say no to what you don't want, you'll never have the time and energy to do what you do want. For me, I'm kind of like a people pleaser. It's never easy for me to say no, and I actually want to do everything and all at once, but we only have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 1/3 of that time we actually need to sleep. So I've come to realize that I just can't say yes to everything. At work, I try to decline all the unimportant meetings and delegate tasks to other colleagues who have more time. I've also learned the hard way to say no to projects that I don't enjoy. So the bottom line is, don't work so hard for things that don't matter to you. So all this time that I still didn't know how to say no. In the past years, I have at times ignored my own well-being to be able to finish all the work that I say yes to. I used to try to be productive every minute and every hour of the day. I didn't give myself enough sleep. When I'm commuting on the train, I would open my laptop and respond to emails and stuff. And one time I arrived at the appointment feeling exhausted, nauseous, and just physically so unwell. I'm lucky to never really experience burnout, but I think I might have been on the edge of it at some point. And it's all because I treated my body as a vehicle that helps me achieve this and that. I don't regret working hard for my passions, but I do wonder if it has to be at the cost of my well-being. From all I've learned, this body I have is probably the only thing that I actually own. Not my career, not my study diploma, not my bank account or my social media status. So yeah, the good old lesson, be kind to yourself. And it often turns out to be the most productive thing I can do. This is by no means a one-size-fits-all solution, and we all need to learn about ourselves and see what works best. And that takes time. If you have your own experience that you want to share with me, please leave a comment down below. Until next time, take care. Bye bye.